in this lesson we'll create a floor lamp for our living room. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a lamp. It's going to stand right here in this little alcove, and let's use a primitive that we have kind of yet to touch on. So let's go to Create, Geometry, Standard Primitives, and let's go ahead and instead choose Extended. Okay, so we'll go ahead and choose that from the drop down. And now we're going to choose a Gengan. Okay, so let's go ahead and drag this out on the side here. We'll go ahead and pull this out. The first thing we'll pull out is the radius. Okay, let off the mouse, and then we'll pull up the height. And then the last thing we'll pull out, we click, will be the fillet. So you can see that's kind of happening along those edges. So now let's go ahead and take a look at this in our modify panel. So we can change the number of sides here. So 5, 6, 7, whatever you want. We can change the radius. We can change the height. And right here is this fillet. So if we dial this fillet down, you can see that it gives us kind of a plain old polygon primitive shape. And then we can dial the fillet amount up, and it actually adds geometry along those corners. Okay, so if we dial that up, something like that, we can also change the fillet segments, so we can have more of a faceted look. Maybe we want these to be very smooth, so we can increase the number of segments there. You can see it gives you a very smooth look around the corners. So it all depends on the kind of effect that you're going for. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and dial my fillet segments down to maybe 2. All right, and I'll give it 6 sides, and so this is going to serve as sort of the lamp shade. Okay, so I think this is good. I'm going to go ahead and have 1 segment, 2 segments along the height, that is. And now I want to be able to manipulate this, so I need to convert it to an editable state. So we'll go ahead and convert this to editable poly, and I'm going to select the vertices, and let's go ahead and select the ones on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and scale these down. Okay, now this part I want to be actually the largest part of the shade, so I'm going to go ahead and move this up and leave this at the size that it currently is. I'll grab the top and I'll scale this down, not quite so much as the one on the bottom. Alright, and now what I want to do is simply get rid of the faces on the top and the bottom. Now if I go ahead and select polygons and just drag across here, you can see that it's actually selecting these. Okay, and so what we can do to change this, if we scroll over here, we can see this window crossing. If I go ahead and change that, this will enable us to only select things that are completely encompassed by our marquee. So let's go ahead and now select these, and now you can see even though my window crossed over into these polygons, it only selected things that were encompassed completely. So that's kind of a helpful way of selecting things. And I'll go ahead and do the same thing down here, and now simply delete those. Okay, let me go ahead and click that back. And now we need to add a little bit of thickness to this. So I'm going to go ahead and add a shell modifier to this and give it kind of an inner or outer amount. It doesn't really matter which. Okay, make it about that thick or so. It doesn't really matter. Just want to have kind of a little bit of thickness there. All right, and now we can go ahead and kind of drop this into position. I'm going to go ahead and just convert this back to an editable poly. Now let's put this into position and kind of size it correctly. Okay, so I'm going to kind of drop it in there and pull it up. Okay, let me go ahead and scale this down a little bit. And so let's say we want it to be kind of right around there. We now need to create the base for this. So I'm going to go into the top view. Okay, and it's going to be right over here. So I'm going to create kind of a cylindrical base, and from that we can actually build the kind of the stand that's going to come up, the pipe. So I'm going to go into the standard primitives, create a cylinder, drag this out from the center of our Gengan. Go ahead and drag that out, give it a little bit of height. And you can see I've got way too many divisions here, so I'm going to go ahead and divide, or rather take those number of sides down. And since I'm going to be smoothing this, I can go ahead and take that down. Let's go ahead and do about 18. Okay, the cap segments, I'm going to take way down, and I'm going to actually take that down to 1. So we just get 1 polygon there. Let's go ahead and take the height itself down a little bit. And so this is going to serve as kind of the base. So I'll convert this now to an editable poly. Go ahead and select that top polygon, and now we can start to shape this a little bit. So I'll scale this in and down, and then we can use some of our edit polygons tools here. You can do an inset, a very small amount. Apply that, do another inset. Bring that in. Okay, let's do a bevel. And we'll bring that up and in. Okay, do another inset. Kind of a small amount. You can get some sharpness along there. Apply that. And then we'll do another one and start to bring this into where we can bring out the actual stand or the pipe that's going to come out of this. Say OK to that. And then we'll do another very small inset right in here. Now we can actually bring that pipe up and we'll just extrude that. Give it a very small amount to begin with. Apply that, and then the next one, we'll just go ahead and drag that right up into the shade there. Say OK to that, and we can delete those polygons. So now what we're left with is our stand and our shade. Now I want to create a little bit of detail, this sort of geometry that connects both of these together in kind of an interesting way. So to do that, I need to add some resolution on here from which I can extract that geometry. So first I'm going to do it on the shade. So go ahead and select this edge, and under the selection rollout, select the ring and go to connect. And then I want to create two segments. I want to pinch them together and I want to slide them down a little bit. Okay, until you get something like that. Okay, now I want to do the same sort of thing here on this guy. So I'll go ahead and select these edges and I'll do a connect. Okay, I'll have two segments and let's kind of pinch those together. It's a little bit harder to see on this one. And I'll just slide this up. So something kind of up here. Something like that. And we'll say OK to that. And now what we want to do is actually extract that geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and select these polygons. And hit R to go to scale, hold down shift, and I'm going to scale these up. Okay, and I want to clone it to an object. Okay, so now we have our own sort of separate object here. We can go ahead and center the pivot on. Okay, so we got our own little band coming out of there. We can scale that up or down if we want to. And the next thing we want to do is the same thing up here. Okay, so you can select those polygons. You can also select these two edges. Select the loop, hold down shift and hit the polygon to actually convert that selection. And now to simply clone that, I'm going to hold down shift, scale that out a bit. Okay, clone to object, yes, that's fine. I can select this now. And let's go ahead and again center this pivot. If you want to scale it back in a little bit, you can. But what I want to do now is attach basically that piece and this new piece that we created down here. So under Edit Geometry, I'll go ahead and say Attach, and I'll select that little piece. All right. Now let's go ahead and select these. So I'm going to hit Alt-Q. I've got both of these selected. I need to now add some thickness to these. So I'll go ahead and again add our shell. Okay, give it a little bit of thickness there. Make sure it's an outer amount. All right, and we'll go ahead and collapse that. And now what we want to do is actually create a little bit of geometry that's connecting these in some interesting ways. So we'll go ahead and select a couple of polygons here. Let's convert this to an editable poly from an editable mesh. I'm going to select these polygons right under here. And then I'll select two polygons down here. And you could select kind of the polygons that you think are straight down, but I'm going to go ahead and choose some that are off kilter a little bit, off base. So these are a little bit rotated. So now we can come down under Edit Polygons, and to combine these, or to actually create geometry between these rather, we'll go to Bridge. You can see how that now creates geometry. If you look at this, you can see it's kind of twisted. The geometry from this edge is actually flowing over to this outside edge. To fix that, you can go to Twist and just tweak that a little bit. Okay, so what's happening is it's using the same number of polygons and it's connecting those. You can actually do it with different numbers, although you'll have your topology won't necessarily be what you want. Okay, you can add segments along there. You can kind of see those there. You can taper this. So if you want to taper this out, taper it in, you can get some interesting effects there. Okay, you can change the bias towards one end or the other if you want to do that. Okay, so just kind of a neat way to add some geometry. Let's go ahead and do the same thing maybe over on the opposite end. Say OK to that. We'll grab this one, and let's go ahead and choose something over here. And we'll do the same thing over here. And again, we'll change the twist so that everything looks right. Okay, and we'll just say OK to that. Okay, let's go ahead and exit isolation mode. And there you can see we've just added simply kind of an interesting little effect just by duplicating geometry from these different pieces. Okay, we took a piece from here, we took a piece from there, and we just used a bridge to combine those. Now keep in mind, you have to have these attached. You want to have those attached, you can have that as a single piece there. Alright, so there is our kind of a floor lamp. You can select this bottom base and smooth that out if you want to. Okay, I kind of like the faceting on the fillets that we have there. So there we go. There is our kind of a standing lamp there in the corner. So in the next lesson, what we want to do is actually add a sort of a handrail over near these stairs. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a look at how we can do that in the next lesson.